I gotta check out this Shade 45 interview with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Will Smith literally tells you guys that Martin Lawrence has been cloned, and Martin Lawrence tells you guys that he basically is a...
There's also a rumor, and I was going to bring it up, that you're a clone. That was the one that I heard that one too. Clone. Well, that's AI.
mini clones.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? You guys know what we like to do here, man. We break down scary and creepy videos that's gonna make us question everything. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
This map are going to change the way you see the world. This map shows how many natural disasters there have been in the US since 1953. Texas and California have by far the most, with Oklahoma there with all their tornadoes. And the lowest I found on the map was Delaware, with only 19 disasters in over 50 years. This map shows the purchasing power of $100 in every US state. California, New York, and Hawaii are all less than $90, while if you want to move to Arkansas, Mississippi, it's $113. Shout out if you already live there. This is what Australia would look like if it had its own Mediterranean Sea. And if this happened in real life, there'd probably be 0 deaths, because barely anyone lives there. A super shout out to you if you live in that area. This map shows all of the counties in the United States that have subways. And I don't know if this is more of a statement on the fact that we have terrible public transportation in America, or if all the interstate highways we have is just that much of an achievement. This map shows the elevation of the entirety of Europe. And something I did not know is that the highest and lowest points in Europe are both in Russia.
The powers that be know AI is so bad for everything. Why are they pushing it so hard?
Okay, hear me out. If they knew that AI was going to cause climate catastrophe to an already existing climate crisis, why would they still introduce AI to the public?
Money.
Because I don't know if everyone understands. AI needs data centers that look like this. Because AI is not in the cloud. It actually requires data centers that have servers. And these servers get really hot every time you use AI. And so to cool down these servers, they need to use water. So each chat GPT question uses up to 15 bottles of water. And these governments all around the world know that AI is going to cause climate catastrophe, because there are countries right now that are having a water crisis. Like, there are countries right now that don't have access to clean water. I mean, there's cities in America that don't have access to clean water. So why would they exacerbate an already existing crisis that we are in? If you've been listening to, climate experts, analysts, scientists, they've been ringing the alarm on how we don't have a lot of time to save this planet. Actually, we can't save the planet. We can only prolong it. So it seems like the introduction of AI into our society is just fast forwarding like the end time.
So if the elite already know it's bad pretty much all ways around, why do they keep pushing it? Stay weird.
For money, bro.
You've got to be kidding me. Have you seen the viral video going around of the gigantic anaconda in the Amazon rainforest? These guys were allegedly on a helicopter sightseeing tour when they came across a giant anaconda. Matter of fact, if you haven't seen it, check this out. Look at this.
AI.
What's the size of that? This video has been making the rounds and has gone super viral. One of the questions that I have is, do you think it's real or do you think it's AI? News organizations are asking the same question. AI or real? Video shows giant anaconda slithering through the stream in the Amazon rainforest. The big question is, if that's real, we've got issues. If it's AI, we have bigger issues, because more videos are going to start circulating and people are not going to believe anything they see anymore. In the comments, whether you think this is real or that's AI. And as always, I'd love to hear from you.
I think a lot of you guys also feel like our timelines are messed up, because so many people were shocked to know that Eminem and Picasso were alive at the same time. But there are so many more of these weird overlaps, and I could truly do this forever. And a quick reminder that if you love the spooky and dark, you'll love the podcast. You made us number 12 on the charts. First up, Oprah, Einstein, also alive at the same time. Barbara Walters, Anne Frank, and Martin Luther King were all born in the same year. Joe Biden was actually born closer to Lincoln's second inauguration than to his own. The last dodo bird sighting happened after the witch trials had already started in the United States. If he wanted to, Van Gogh could have drank a Coca-Cola while he painted. Nintendo was also a year old when Van Gogh died. And lastly, when Harvard was founded, they didn't offer calculus because calculus had not been invented yet.
History has just been made. The world has a new, most powerful woman. This is Sanae Takaichi, and she has just been elected as Japan's first ever female prime minister. Not only does that put her in control of the world's fourth largest economy, but she did this despite Japan's politics still being heavily dominated by men. But what makes this even more interesting is that she actually shares many similar conservative views with the man that is in charge of the world's most powerful economy. In fact, some have even gone as far to say that she is the female Donald Trump. And similar to him, her background isn't even in politics. She worked in television for years and was even a biker and heavy metal drummer. Her father worked at a car company, her mother was a police officer, and now they are parents to the world's most powerful woman.
Now, if you don't believe in God, this is going to make you believe in God. So a hand was shown in the ultrasound looking like he's sculpting the baby inside of this woman's womb. Her name is Amanda Foster, and she posted the picture of her ultrasound, and she saw that a hand was touching her baby's face as if it's sculpting the baby. Mind you, she's a praying woman, and this is what she said. She says, each time before ultrasounds, I've dropped to my knees right in the doctor's office to pray for Kyler. In my prayers for him, I've asked the Lord to repeatedly keep his hand on my baby, and whatever his plan may be, for her to trust in it and be fully at ease. She said, I had an ultrasound yesterday, and my youngest daughter, Bailey, was the first to notice it, and she asked whose hand was that. But in one of his pictures, it has an appearance of a hand holding his head. Thinking about this last night more and more brought me to tears, and just to be thankful for all he has and all he continues to do for me. And I couldn't ever fathom a thought of living without him in my life. Isaiah 41:10. God said that I have knitted you perfectly and wonderfully in your mother's womb. Just straight knitting this baby perfectly in her mother's womb. And she was praying for his hand to be on the baby, and you see this hand. I don't know, this gives me chills, and it should give you chills. If you're not a believer, this is one of those things that probably turns you into a believer. Man, this is special.
That was special. That was an amazing story to hear. And literally seeing it with our own eyes.
Kraft single cheese, right? Like the little cheese squares wrapped in plastic.
Yeah, it's like the best.
Do you know why in the packaging they call it Kraft singles and not Kraft cheese?
No, I don't.
So legally they can't actually call it Kraft cheese, and it's actually a really scary reason why they can't. So in order for the FDA to label a product as cheese, the product actually has to have like 50% real cheese inside of the product. So that means when you're eating Kraft singles, however you eat it, grilled cheese, mac and cheese, whenever you use Kraft singles, right, you're eating a product that's less than 50% real authentic cheese. So in reality, it could be like 3% cheese, because we really don't know. We really don't know how much cheese is actually in it. Just look at this video. It's scary how it doesn't melt at all.
It's like
wax. So we're supposed to believe a 6 foot long, 3 foot wide piece of ice fell off a plane into a house in Flagler County, Florida. I know, you don't know what I'm talking about? Look at this shit.
So there was an incident where a piece of ice went through the next door neighbors. The neighbor next door saw the ice fall from the sky, and I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little bit of ice. There's ice over here.
So allegedly, let's just say allegedly, that piece of ice came from a plane. Come on, man. Flagler County, Florida. As I always say, I'm not big on conspiracies. I'm not. But something's not adding up. And the fact that the next door neighbor seen when this was happening and didn't report any of it is puzzling to me. It's only one word that comes to mind when I see this. And the word is firmament. A 6-foot piece of ice fell out the sky into a home today. 2025 is crazy. I'm out.
You guys heard about the Mountain Dew conspiracy? No. There's always been that conspiracy of like Mountain Dew flavors like coincide with like big major events. They had something with Maui that when the Maui fires happened, right? Last year they brought back the pitch black and then they had like the biggest IT blackout of all time. And there was another one that tropical flavor did. It was like the tropical swirl. And then we had all those crazy hurricanes.
Did you went with Code Red?
I can't remember if it was, but then they brought a Star-Spangled Splash flavor for 4th of July last year, and then, no joke, later on, that bridge collapsed. But guess what the name of the bridge is called? Francis Scott Key. The guy who wrote the Star-Spangled Banner! Isn't that wild? And so they just released a new flavor. Purple Thunder is the new flavor.
Purple Thunder? I do have the Code Red conspiracy. Code Red was only a few months before 9/11 when it debuted.
No way.
That's kind of crazy. Mountain Dew is owned by Pepsi, right? Yes. And we do know that Pepsi worked with the CIA that one time to overthrow the Chilean government. Does the CIA work with Pepsi?
I mean, I think it's confirmed at this point.
The NBA is cooked, and I'm finna sue. Or can I? I know damn well when Terry Rozier was playing for Hornets, I made several bets, and some of them bets was for him to get a certain amount of points. And I remember moments where this man would get out the game because he was hurt or faking it. Because now we know. I'm not gonna lie, Rozier, you gotta see me off the one. Look at that man picture. You look like one of them grimy motherfuckers to do that shit. And then you had my Lakers doing it too. You know how many times I betted on the Lakers, fool? And then other teams among them were the Raptors and the Trailblazers. I want to know who on the Lakers was doing. LeBron. At this point, you can't trust no team. It was already in our mind that they were rigging shit. Are these the fall people? Because I know damn well it's not just the players and the coaches. And if they're doing this in the NBA, just think about all the other fucking sports. NFL, baseball, soccer. But one thing I don't like, news broke, it just made me think like, damn, fool, how many other games fell off? And then, yesterday I made a bet, and I could have won $5K. All I needed was one person to make one more three, which was Brandon Miller. And in the whole fourth quarter, he couldn't make one three, fool. With like 40 seconds left in the fourth quarter, he had the opportunity to shoot, but he held the ball and got a shot clock violation.
You should never pop your pimple.
Hey man, that freaking NBA situation once again is insane. Like I said, there was some. I kept hearing everybody yesterday talking about it. It was like how they said the mafia basically said was involved with the books and stuff, but the persons, man, that everybody's really talking about is just Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups. Yeah, I heard how they're kind of the main focal point, but nobody's even talking about, I guess, the mafia part. And like he did, like Zay said, he brought up some valid points. If this is happening in the NBA, I wonder if any of the other leagues are looking out like, damn, like, bro, we got to be careful, man, because they just got caught. We ain't trying to get caught too, so that's just raising flags, man. Who else is in on this?
And this is why. The story began in 2017 when a 16-year-old girl named Katie woke up with a giant pimple on her forehead. So she decided to go to the bathroom and squeeze it as hard as she could. And that's when it popped immediately. Her face then swelled up and it felt like her skin was on fire. Katie then called 911 and was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. When she got to the hospital, the doctor took one look at her pimple and couldn't believe it. The doctors discovered that it was not a pimple, but actually a staph infection, and if she would have waited another day, she most likely would have died.
With the prank, they got a doctor to wake him up and tell him you're waking up from a 12-year coma.
You've been in a coma for the past 10 years. All right.
One of their friends got arrested because they were driving drunk and they were passed out, okay? Because they got into like an accident, hit like a sign or whatever. Yeah, they were drunk driving. So what they did, since he was so knocked out, they put him in a hospital, like simulated hospital room. Okay. They got a doctor to wake him up and tell him you're waking up from a 12-year coma.
Can you hear me? You're in the hospital, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be just fine.
Wow, look at you.
You just woke up and he said, what? What happened?
Some time ago you decided you was drinking. You was out drinking and you decided to drive and there was an accident. This accident took place back in 2013. Mr. 2023. You've been in a coma for the past 10 years.
All right.
They've been contacted, they're on their way, and you're going to be taken care of, you're going to be all right. Make sure we check on my colleague, make sure he's in here, he's going to help you better make the transition from where you've been to where you need to be. So just try to relax.
And then another doctor came in and started slapping me. That's why you don't drink the job. Close your eyes. You feel this? You feel that? Feel that? Feel that? Feel that? All right. You feel that?
What the?
Feel that? You feel that? Dude, look. Yeah, 5 DUI! 5 DUI!
Story just went viral, claim.
That's a crazy prank. Wow.
China built a humanoid robot that can get pregnant and give birth to human babies. Millions of people believed it, and it's completely fake. Here's what the story claimed. A company called Koehn Technology supposedly created a robot with an artificial womb that could carry a full-term pregnancy for 10 months. They said it would cost $14,000 and launch by 2026. Major news outlets around the world picked up the story. Times of India, Yahoo News, all reporting it as fact with technical specifications and quotes from scientists. Then fact-checkers actually investigated. The company doesn't exist. The lead scientist, Dr. Zhang Qifeng, doesn't exist. The images were AI generated. Every single detail was fabricated. But here's the scary part. The technology they described isn't even close to possible yet. Real artificial womb research can barely support premature lambs in lab settings. We're decades away from anything like what this fake story claimed, and yet it spread globally because outlets kept citing each other without anyone actually verifying the source. One fake story on Chinese social media became international news within days. This isn't about China's technology. This is about how easily completely fabricated stories can become accepted as fact when they sound revolutionary enough and nobody bothers to check.
You should never eat at a
Insane.
stranger's house, especially if they're sick. If a sick person cook your food, that sickness will go directly to the food that you eat. Now you sick. This video is about to get a little dark and a little deep. Stay with me. If a person don't like you, they can put curses and spells on your pots and pans. You ever ask yourself how the hell do family generational curses spread through the whole bloodline? That's because someone put a spell on their pots and pans. So once this person eat from the pots and pans, that's going directly into your bloodline. But we need to understand where the hell the pots and pans come from. Back in ancient times, we were all vegans, but now we are using pots and pans. Pay attention to the water and pay attention to the heat. The water represents the rain. The heat on the stove represents the sun. The rain and the sun was actually cooking our food. We never used pots and pans. So where the fuck did it come from? It come from witchcraft. We call these cooking pots. Our ancestors knew that they were magic pots. These pots were designed to trap energy and release energy. Like this. We have spirits that tricked us, and the name of these spirits is the jinn. They are made out of smokeless fire. So that steam you see is really smoke, and it's coming from the jinns, the magicians. You should never eat at a stranger's house, and you should never sleep in a stranger's bed.
Yeah, I gotta check out this Shade 45 interview with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Will Smith literally tells you guys that Martin Lawrence has been cloned, and Martin Lawrence tells you guys that he basically is AI. I want you guys to listen to exactly how Will Smith words it, and then he shakes his head as he is saying it. Y'all, check this out.
There's also a rumor, and I was going to bring up that you're a clone. That was the one that I heard that one thing, clone. That's AI.
Now, you gotta realize that they're not allowed to come out and directly tell you that they are a clone. But just the way that Will Smith said it, and then this Martin, this not even the real Martin, literally tells you that he's AI. Because y'all gotta agree, this is not the same high energy, funny, hilarious Martin Lawrence that we know. This guy looks like he is a robotoid, literally. I find it funny that Will Smith is exposing the fact that Martin Lawrence is a clone, but forgetting the fact that he also exposed that he has many clones. Now, y'all really believe this is the same Martin? Now, check this out. Why is his neck creased like that? Like it's folding on within itself. Like he's wearing a mask. It looks like somebody's home, but the lights aren't on. Y'all see this? What is he looking at? Y'all can say
Want to summon a demon? Play this game. The game is called the Closet Game. To start the game, take a box of matches and go to your bedroom. Then turn off all the lights and make sure you're in complete darkness. After that, open your closet door and step inside and shut the door. Then stand in the darkness for approximately 2 minutes, facing the door. Then take one match out of the box and hold it in front of you and say, "Show me light or leave me in darkness." Now listen very carefully. If you begin hearing faint whispering, light the match immediately. But if you don't hear anything, and the match does not ignite on its own, then turn around. If you don't light the match fast enough after hearing the faint whispering, you will then feel something grab you from behind, and you will then be dragged into eternal darkness by the demon. And whatever you do, do not stop playing the game once you begin.
The facts that you probably didn't know
I never played
one
that.
day could save your life. Part 14. Ticks are way deadlier than people say they are. Lyme disease can quite literally stop your heart. If you get bitten, take it off immediately and go see a doctor. If you hear a baby crying outside, keep your door shut and dial 911. It's a trap. If you're trying to see if a mirror is two-sided, put your nail against the glass. If there's no gap between your nail and the reflection, run. If someone is stumbling around and sounds drunk but hasn't had any alcohol, ask them to smile. If one side of their face is drooping, get them to the hospital. They're having a stroke. There's a monument in Georgia that functions as a calendar, clock, and a compass. It also has instructions on it in different languages on how to rebuild society after an apocalypse.
Why the heck is that standing there? Who put that up? That last one got to me, man. If an apocalypse happens, bro, we having instructions on how to rebuild humanity. It seems like people in the past, they already knew the future was going to be doomed. That's a shame, man.
Here are facts you didn't know that one day could save your life. If you're ever buried in rubble, yelling will only waste your energy. Look for something to grab and tap in intervals of 3, and rescuers will notice this strange pattern. If a tornado looks like it's standing still, this means it's actually moving towards you. If your drink randomly smells like cinnamon, don't drink it. People often use it to cover up the scent of actual poison. If your house ever smells like fish for no reason, 9 times out of 10, it's because there's an electrical fire. If you ever wake up to the smell of gas, don't turn on a light. A spark from the light switch could blow up your entire house. Lying flat on your back is the best way to survive a falling elevator. If your hair suddenly stands up, duck and cover because you're about to be struck by lightning. If you ever fall off the edge onto the tracks, don't try and crawl back up. There's a crawl space built to go underneath in case this happens. If you ever get kidnapped into the back of a vehicle, disconnect the brake light wire so the cops will pull them over, then kick on the door to let them know that you're there.
Those are facts, man. We need to know. I hope y'all wrote those down, man. There were some of those will save your life.
The creepiest places in the world.
Talk about it.
Lake Natron, Tanzania. Due to high levels of salt contents, everything that touches the lake turns to pure stone.
Hello, my friend. That is not accurate. Lake Natron is a mineral-rich lake in Tanzania. Despite its high pH levels, it has some animals that live in it, including the Alclepia fish. The misconception that it turns anything that touches it to stone comes from these photographs.
So it's cat.
Basically, animals pass away for whatever reason, fall into the water, and become like mummified. A photographer found such animals at Lake Natron, but placed them in a position so they look like they're alive for the sake of the photo, which led to some awesome results. Also, this lake is actually where flamingos go to mate. If you're there at the right time, you will see millions.
I never knew that, bro.
4 numbers you should never call, part 15. This is the first phone number. This phone number was a human experiment during the World War II. They designed specific sentences to test how sound affected people in negative ways. So when you call this number, you will hear those sentences, which sound like a disturbing poem, recited by both male and female voices. This is the next phone number. If you call this phone number after midnight, you will be granted a wish. Once they pick up the phone, you just have to whisper your wish, but there will be a price. And the price is that you will be killed after some time. This is the next phone number. This type of numbers are extremely popular in Japan, and they allow you to talk with your doppelganger, and it is said that it can be a death curse. This is the next phone number. This is Murray's phone number from Stranger Things. When you call this number, you will first hear Murray yelling about his mother. Then he'll talk to Joyce and finally leave a disturbing message to you. This is the last phone number. This is the SCP number. When you call it, a voicemail will inform you that you have reached the SCP Foundation, and it will instruct you to leave the date, time, location, and a description of any incidents that you may have witnessed. Unsolved mysteries that will make your skin crawl. In early August 1963, 4-year-old Bobby Pankin and his family went on a hike in Washington State. There was a trail that led down to a waterfall that Bobby's mom wanted him and his brothers to see. And so she set off down the trail with her 3 boys, and their father stayed behind. As they headed down the trail, it became apparent that not many people ever went down this path. The forest was super dense and it was hard to see where to go. But once they found the waterfall, 4-year-old Bobby didn't really want to go down the hill to see it. And so his mother told their middle brother to stay behind with him. Bobby's brother didn't really want to babysit him while his mom and their older brother were down exploring the waterfall. And so after a couple of minutes, he decided to leave Bobby behind and go explore. Their mother was mad, and when they went back up the trail to find Bobby, he was gone. They searched and yelled out his name, but there wasn't any reply. Police conducted a 7-day search for Bobby, and they couldn't find anything. Nothing, not even blood, was left behind. And after almost 60 years, the mystery has never been solved. What do you think happened?
They just took the
One of the most scariest things, man. One of my most feared things, bro, is just like going out somewhere and just disappearing off the face of the earth. No contact, your family can't find you, nothing. That always gets me, seekers. Be careful while you're out, man. You never know what could happen.
Annabelle doll out of her case again. Hey, you know this doll said to be one of the most haunted dolls in recorded history? So demonic that even looking at her could have you cursed. The craziest part is the last person who touched her and was leaving the museum was driving their car and swore they saw Annabelle in the backseat, causing them to lose complete control of their car and almost losing their lives. Just after touching the case, not the doll itself. But I guess my $1,000,000 question is, how is this wooden box keeping this demonic presence in? I understand that the box itself is blessed. Then my other question is, why are we moving the doll? Why are we trying to take it and put it in a new spot? You're just giving the doll opportunities. Now I'm gonna be honest, to the worker, to the person who's more or less risking their life taking this doll and putting it in a new case, you deserve a raise. Because even wearing gloves is not enough. Or are the Annabelle movies lying about how powerful she is? Because if a wooden box is able to keep this demonic presence in for so long, and have more or less no problems with it, and be able to be moved from box to box, is the Annabelle spirit actually that strong? Now me personally, I'm not going to test that theory. You cannot pay me enough to go and touch the Annabelle doll, let alone go see her. It's just not going to happen. It's just not something I'm going to do. In the Annabelle movies, she is the most powerful demon we've ever seen. But then in real life, we just have normal people moving her with no problem. Is she actually that haunted? I don't really know.
Yeah, he deserves a raise for moving that dog, because I would be like, no, move it, no.
Crazy things happening in the world right now. This 6-year-old from the UK had her passport denied because she had the same name as a Game of Thrones character. An American Airlines flight made an emergency landing after some passengers noticed lice in another passenger's hair. A driver plowed into this woman's yard and then offered her $50,000 to not call the police. This Olympian's gold medal that he received in Paris this summer is already deteriorating. Disneyland offered a $69 ticket for their 69th anniversary this year to Anaheim residents only. A snake bit this man, so he decided to bite the snake back twice. The snake died and the man lived. Drugs were found disguised as Taco Bell burritos during a routine traffic stop in Tennessee. Microplastics were found in every human semen sample that was tested in a recent study. A recent investigation found that between January 2020 and October 2020, 1/3 of all misinformation posted on X was generated by 10 users from the US and UK.
That's a damn shame.
Left their baby unattended for up to 2 weeks. Viewers' discretion is strongly advised. In 2014, Zachary Koehn met Cheyenne Harris, and a year later they had a daughter together. In 2016, Cheyenne became pregnant again, and Zachary had influenced her to use drugs even though she was pregnant. Cheyenne quickly became addicted, and she gave birth to a premature baby in the bathtub. Zachary started to have doubts if this was even his child because people were telling him that this child did not resemble him at all. On August 30th of 2017, Zachary came home from work He made some food for his daughter, and he went straight to his bed without checking on his baby Sterling. Around 11 a.m., Cheyenne came to tell him that their son had died. Zachary went into Sterling's bedroom to touch his forehead, and that is when he realized that Sterling was ice cold and there was blood coming from his mouth. Zachary called 911, and the autopsy revealed that Sterling's cause of death was homicide. He died from dehydration, malnutrition, and infection. Sterling had been left in a baby swing for up to 2 weeks. He sat in a diaper filled with feces, and he had a diaper rash so severe that it led to development of open wounds on his skin. And because of this, E. coli bacteria from the feces entered his bloodstream. Poor baby Sterling had crawling maggots on his skin, in his diaper, his clothes, and even on the swing. Zachary claimed that he never changed Sterling's diaper because he had a very weak stomach and that it was Cheyenne's job. It appeared that the couple cared for their daughter, but for some reason they neglected Sterling. 1-day-old diaper is going to be noticeable, so there's no way that they did not smell that heavy odor for up to 2 weeks. They simply just chose to ignore it. October 25th of 2017, both Zachary and Cheyenne were arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Both have been found guilty and have been sentenced to life in prison. This case truly breaks my heart, and baby Sterling deserved better than this.
There might not be any animal alive with more aura than a black Air Force bull-cut weasel. This is Stoffel the honey badger, one of the biggest menaces to walk the earth. You see, Stoffel had a problem. Shout out to Zevi, all Senegal. Moving on up, Stoffel lived in the Mahala Hala Wildlife Center in South Africa. But the African bush pharaoh was like IBS. You can't stop him, you can only pray to contain him. Stoffel was a four-legged force of nature that escaped every single time. But there's a twist, remind me to tell you. Stoffel would often get out, break into the kitchen, and the same biracial badger that could 3v1 lions would chase kitchen staff around and then help himself to free food. Speaking of lions, one day Stoffel got into the lion den and nearly got mauled into an early life retirement, costing him 2 months in the hospital. First thing the monochrome crash out did when he got better was immediately try to get it back in blood. At one point, Stoffel ran a fade with a tawny eagle, that's a tawny eagle, and won, no foul. Stoffel climbed a tree and got out, so they removed all the trees next to walls. He broke off a branch, dragged it to a wall, and climbed out again, so they got rid of the trees. Stoffel stacked rocks high enough and Andy deframed his way out, so out went the rocks. So then Stoffel made mud balls, rolled them to the wall, and emancipated himself again. At some point, someone left a rake. Guess what the felony ferret did? At one point, they tried giving Stoffel a girlfriend named Hamby, and he proceeded to use her as a footstool to unlock his gate, so Bonnie done met her Clyde. One time, he broke into his keeper's house at night through a window. He didn't hurt anybody, but sometimes you gotta pop out and show ninjas. You remember that twist I promised? It was all a game. He had no intentions of ever leaving. He was hand-raised by humans as a baby and imprinted on people. He wasn't going nowhere. Yet this dusty Oreo otter was memeing the entire time, and I checked. He's still alive. He's pushing 26 and lost most of his teeth, but at least he has Hamby to chew it for him. Yeah, Stoffel got it.
Yeah, he does, bro. He definitely had Black Air Force energy, man. He was a menace, bro. What are the fees for lions?
The most advanced Tesla phone product of this century, owned by Elon Musk, branded Pi, is due to be launched in late 2024. The Pi phone has 3 outstanding features that other smartphones don't have. No need to charge the battery, as it uses solar power. It only needs light to charge automatically. No need to expose it to sunlight. No internet capability is needed, because Pi connects directly to Elon Musk's Starlink, which has a global coverage network. Thanks to Dr. Nicholas Koukoulis, the patent holder of Pi, and one of the CEOs of a company owned by one of the richest people in the world. Does it sound too good to be true? It will cost only $100. Now that's cheap. If you like this video, hit the like button and let me know what you think.
What angel? That does sound too good to be true, bro. No need to charge. The internet's free. That's only $100. It has to come with a cost, something like that, man. I learned that early in life. If it sounds too good to be true, there's a hidden cost behind it. Remember that, seekers.
Actually look like.
This is what angels actually look like. Part 2. Today we're talking about the cherubim, aka the Chimera angel. And by the way, this is not a cherubim. The cherubim have 4 faces. The face of a human, the face of an ox, the face of a lion, and the face of an eagle. They have the body of a lion, the feet of an ox, and their 4 wings are covered in eyes. And when they fly, they emit balls of lightning and fire, which is convenient because they're essentially heaven's bodyguards. When Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, God placed a cherubim with a rotating fire sword at the garden's entrance, just in case Adam wanted the smoke, and they literally guard the throne of God. By the way, the reason why we think this is a cherubim today is because the Catholic Church didn't want to scare people away from Christianity during Renaissance Italy.
Here's what to do if you drop your phone in the toilet. First, get your phone out as soon as possible and dry the outside with something like a towel. Then power off your phone completely so you avoid short-circuiting it. Now, if you have an iPhone, take out the SD card on the side, but if you have a phone that lets you remove the battery, do that to allow more airflow so it can dry better. If you can, use a vacuum to suck out the water, but if not, tilt your phone side to side to allow the water to drop out. You may be thinking, Blue, what about putting it in rice?
Yeah.
Well, studies showed that the best and quickest way to dry your phone is to let it air dry with good air circulation.
This man went to hell for 23 minutes. Listen to how he describes the demons he saw in hell.
I was standing beneath this tunnel, like cavern walls that were sending upward, and all along the cavern walls were demons. Some were only 2 and 3 feet tall, some were 12 and 13 feet tall, but every one of them were twisted and deformed and grotesque, the most hideous looking creatures. And I noticed there were snakes crawling all over everything. And then I looked, and I was standing on a bed of maggots, just solid maggots crawling all over everything and everybody. But remember, Jesus said, where their worm dies not and the fire is not quenched. And he used the word maggot. And Isaiah 14:11 says, where the maggot will be spread under thee and the worm will cover thee.
This is no joke. Hell is a real place. Repent of your sins today and turn to Jesus so you never go there.
Do you guys think, Seekers, did he experience that, man? Like I said, you can't count out people's experiences, so that's what he said he saw. There can be some truth behind it, man. He actually went there, so did something happen to him and he came back to tell us the truth about what he saw?
Once again, when you talk about aura, you better speak on this bear. This is the boss. That's his name, no relation. He's a 700-pound walking boulder of a bear and an anime plot device in a grizzly's body. The boss has been recorded catching, murking, and eating multiple black bears. In fact, one of the first times he was ever seen was next to an expired bear, and officials had to close down the trail until the boss was done eating it. At one point, the boss hit a train and was tragically put down. The train, I mean. Oh, you didn't hear me. I said the bear hit the train. Boss ate that like it was nothing. He even shows up to the same tracks just to eat the animals that weren't strong enough to survive what he walked off. As mentioned, Boss was roughly the size of 2 prime shacks. As a whole plus-size predator, he was and is the biggest bear in the area, and it's believed he fathered more than 70% of all the bears in the area code. Mind you, he's believed to be up to 27 years old, and twins, when the average male grizzly bear lives to 25. Which means by the time getting jumped, this bear on a LeBron type of run. And you know a bear that survived a literal train barely second-guesses cars, and the boss regularly crosses high-speed highways. It's anime plot armor with predatory hardware. The boss even has his own antagonist. That would be this guy, Split Lip. They've been running things for years, and they've been in the same area for 15, so this beef may have marinated for over a decade. But I don't think Boss has taken an L yet. Boss from Bam better put some respect on the OG, original Grizzly.
Places you should never swim, Part 1. Firstly, the boiling lake of Dominica. What makes it so dangerous is the boiling magma under the surface. It's so hot that swimming in it would burn all the skin off your body. Jacob's Well is a lake located in Texas. It's so clear that you can see right to the bottom. But if you ever swam down here, you wouldn't make it out alive. The lake is filled with hidden caves, so finding a way out would be nearly impossible. Finally, the Nile River. It's filled with crocodiles everywhere that could kill you. And if you somehow escape the crocodiles, you'll have to get through snakes. And as you try to get out, you'll run into at least 15 venomous...
Oof. I ain't even... I'll write that on my list.
There is a huge difference between angels in Islam and Christianity. And that difference is free will. You see, Islam and Christianity are both considered Abrahamic religions. They do share a lot in common. And so both religions speak of angels. Angels in Islam were created from light with the sole purpose of obeying God. In fact, they are incapable of committing sins, as they have no free will. In Christianity, angels are capable of sinning. In fact, many that have disobeyed the will of God have been banished from the heavens and are referred to as fallen angels. Which brings us to another very big difference. The devil in Christianity is understood to be a fallen angel. He's referred to as Lucifer. Now, but in Islam, the devil, or shaitan, is actually a jinn. And I'll discuss what a jinn is very soon.
creepy last words people said right before dying. A nursing assistant said that she was in a long-term patient's room changing the sheets. The patient would periodically look behind her. She asked the patient what was wrong, and the patient looked in her eyes and asked, "He doesn't scare you?" The nurse was confused, and she asked her who she was referring to, and the patient said, "The big man in the top hat. He's standing right behind you." She said that she doesn't think that she has ever finished changing a bed sheet and repositioning a patient as fast as she did that night. She refused to go into that room by herself for the rest of her shift. Linda Johnson, a former nurse, said that she had a gentleman in his late 90s who was dying. He started screaming blood-curdling screams, so they raced to his room. He was screaming that the room was on fire and that there was a man with large horns peering out of the flames. He kept pointing to one wall, saying that it was on fire. The nurses turned on the lights and tried to calm and console him, but to no avail. Instead of being consoled, Linda said that he told her that she was on fire and that he could see her being consumed by flames. Linda said that it was the creepiest thing that has ever happened to her. The doctor was notified, but nothing relieved the patient's terrifying hallucinations. He died soon after. Cynthia said that several years ago, her 20-year-old daughter had brain surgery. She got an infection of the spinal fluid. She was there in grave condition for a month. Cynthia never left her daughter's side. One night, the worst night at this point, she asked who the man in black was that was standing by the bathroom and why Cynthia's deceased brother, the girl's uncle, was standing next to her at the side of the bed. Cynthia immediately got the chills. She told her daughter, "They're not here." Then she told her brother and the man in the black, whom she couldn't see, "You both have to go now. She's not ready to go and I'm not ready to let her go." After that night, her daughter started to get better and better each day. Today, her daughter is doing well.
Weird story.
It makes in 15 seconds and then add 40, you get the temperature of the environment in degrees Fahrenheit, which is really interesting. Also, we genetically modified a few goats to produce spider silk in their milk. So if you skim the top of the milk, it's covered in spider silk, which is actually really useful because spider silk is one of the strongest materials that we have access to, at least under tension. It's not like good under compression or anything like that, but it's stronger than Kevlar under tension. If you were an insect, I think that you'd have a lot more respect for how truly terrifying some insects are, like dragonflies or ladybugs, or especially praying mantises. But I think ladybugs in particular have like this, cutesy little image by like us humans, but like they're like alpha predators. They kill like thousands of bugs in a single lifetime, you know? And dragonflies would especially be terrifying, especially dragonfly nymphs, which is a weird way to think of things, but the dragonfly nymphs are way more deadly than adult dragonflies. They just happen to be really small and only live in the water, and because we're big and not an aquatic insect, we don't really recognize them as the terrifying predators they are. But I think they deserve more respect. Praying mantises too, although I think praying mantises do already kind of get more respect as like the vicious predators they are, but I just think they're all so cool, you know? They're so tough and small.
Her arms were cut off and somehow she was still able to escape and survive.
Oh.
Mrs. Mary Vincent, she was born in 1963 and was living in Las Vegas, Nevada. Mary's parents were going through a very messy divorce and she decided that she wanted to hitchhike to her grandfather's home in Berkeley, California. Once Mary was in Berkeley with her grandfather, she started to become homesick and decided that she was going to hitchhike back. Eventually, she came across Lawrence Singleton and he offered her a ride. Mary accepted the ride from Lawrence because he seemed like a sweet old man, but once he started going the wrong way, she grew suspicious of him. Mary starts to have this gut feeling that something is wrong and she's trying to think of ways that she can escape from Lawrence when he knocks her unconscious with his sledgehammer. Once Mary had regained consciousness, Lawrence had tied her up and SA'd her. Mary is now pleading with Vincent to please let her go and she will not say anything. And he replies to her saying, "You want to be set free? Don't worry, I'll set you free," and he chops off both of her arms. He then throws her down a cliff, stuffs her in a cement cylinder, drives off, and leaves her for dead. Somehow Mary was able to survive the fall and climb back up the cliff despite her injuries. Since Mary was bleeding out, she was able to dip the stumps of her forearms in mud and held them up to slow down the bleeding. Mary was walking along Interstate 5 for about 3 miles until she was able to get the attention of a couple who was able to get her medical help. As soon as Mary was in the hospital, she immediately worked with police to help identify and find her attacker, and she even postponed her sleep to make a sketch of what her attacker looked like. Once Lawrence was arrested, Mary testified in court, and he even told her in front of everybody that once he was out of prison, he was going to finish her. Lawrence was sentenced to 14 years in prison, and after 8 years, he was free. Since Lawrence was out of the world again, he did not learn his lesson. He attacked a mother of 3 and then took her life. Mary ended up testifying against him once again, and he was sentenced to death, but before he could be executed, he ended up dying on death row from cancer.
McDonald's employee recorded this video and posted it on Instagram right before murdering her manager.
I got sent home early yesterday. I got sent home early today by the same person. I'm telling you, she's a bully. This isn't funny. She needs to understand that just because she's a mother and got children doesn't mean that she can come in the store, you know, disrespecting people, talking to them like everybody's beneath her. Don't have to stop. She's a bully. I'm telling you. She's a bully. She could keep being a bully if she wants to, but that is going to catch up to her. Because it ain't funny at all. It ain't.
And this was all because she was sent home early from work. On July 10, 39-year-old Jennifer Harris and 26-year-old Afeni Mohammed were scheduled to work the same shift at McDonald's in Michigan. Jennifer was a manager and had been working at McDonald's for over 15 years at this point. During their shift that morning, apparently there was an argument and Afeni was asked to leave work early. Afeni left the McDonald's but then apparently returned with a knife, wearing a mask, and she entered through one of the employee entrances and stabbed Jennifer over 15 times. This was all going down in front of customers at the drive-thru, and one customer tried to stop her, but it was already too late. Unfortunately, Jennifer did lose her life, and Afeni was charged with first-degree premeditated murder and is now being held on a $25 million bond. And let me remind you, this was all over a McDonald's job, a most likely part-time job. Let's normalize quitting our jobs when we're not happy, because it's not worth it.
This is the preach. So a woman lost her life over a McDonald's job, like they said, pretty sure it was part-time. Just because she was getting sent home early. I don't know why she was getting sent home early, but it's not worth it, man. If you ain't happy at your job, just leave. Because it looks like you'll just make yourself go crazy and go down a dark road.
A story about the blind woman who could see ghosts. So this girl who was blind at birth lived with her father on a single ranch house. So because she was blind at birth, she had spatial awareness. Pretty much she knew how far apart everything was based on what she touched. One day in the living room, the blind woman was talking to a ghost named Ellie. So Ellie said to the blind woman her name and asked her why her face was so messed up. So the blind woman then asked, "Why is my face messed up? What's wrong with it?" And at that point, the father then heard the conversation and snagged the blind woman out of the room and said, "Who were you talking to?" The blind woman then replied, "I was speaking to Ellie," and then the father laughed. Over the course of the next few months, the blind woman started speaking to over 13 ghosts. And each time she would speak, her father would get very, very upset at her for speaking to ghosts. So one day, the blind woman fell in the kitchen and had to call the paramedics. And once the paramedics arrived there, she asked, "Can my dad come with me to the hospital?" The paramedic then replied, "Your dad's been dead for 6 years." Make sure to like for a part 2.
Was she talking to a spirit?
Which countries have the most serial killers? On average, in your lifetime, you will walk past 36 murderers/serial killers. So that actually got me thinking, which countries have the most serial killers? And of course, there's a study, and here are the results. The top 21 countries with the most serial killers, so the countries with the least, are Sweden, the Netherlands, Scotland, Poland, Spain, and Hungary. Placing 15th to 11th, we have Austria, Brazil, Mexico, China, and France. Okay, now this is the top 10 countries that have produced the most serial killers. We have Russia, India, Australia, Germany, and Japan. Placing in the top 5, we have Italy with 97, Canada with 106, South Africa with 117, England with 166, and the United States with 3,204. Now send this to someone who you know lives in one of these countries because you made the list. Elon!
That's a shame. I knew USA was going to be on top.
This man in a wheelchair got hit by a semi-truck. In 2007, 21-year-old Ben Carpenter, a wheelchair user from Michigan, experienced one of the most terrifying ordeals imaginable. While crossing a busy intersection, Ben's wheelchair accidentally became lodged in the front grille of a semi-truck. The driver, completely unaware, began driving, dragging Ben along the highway at speeds reaching nearly 50 miles per hour. For 4 agonizing miles, Ben was pinned to the front of the massive vehicle, unable to escape or signal for help, as wind and debris battered his face and body. Witnesses on the road were horrified, some thinking it was a prank or a stunt, until one frantic driver finally managed to pull in front of the truck and wave it down. When the truck finally stopped, Ben was still sitting upright, dazed but alive. Miraculously, he sustained no major injuries. First responders and bystanders were in disbelief. How could someone survive being hurled down a highway, inches from death, for that long? The sheer luck, or perhaps divine intervention, of that day made national headlines, and Ben Carpenter's name became forever tied to one of the most unbelievable survival stories in modern history.
That's the scene I think about. He was sitting in front, and the truck driver had no idea. What was he listening to, man? See, that's what you gotta be aware, bro. He had no idea. Right in front of the grill of his truck.
This is why you should be scared of driving down dark roads in Ireland at night. Jane said that one night in the early 2000s, her and her husband were driving down a dark road in Ireland at night. She said that they always played deep, intricate house music to zone out while they drove. They didn't really have conversations on journeys. It was almost like meditation. The headlights of their van lit the immediate darkness. Just a few meters ahead, on the hard shoulder, an old woman came into view as she shuffled along in darkness. Jane said that her and her husband acknowledged her simultaneously. They said, "What the heck is she doing here?" Jane said that almost immediately after their acknowledgement of the old lady, time slowed down from about 120 kilometers per hour to walking speed. She said that it was almost as if they had hit an invisible wall but without impact. She said that time jumped forward in increments, like watching a scratched DVD. The hunched old lady was now approaching Jane's side view mirror. She said that the old lady's head detached from her body, but on a long neck. It was as if a human head was attached to a snake. Jane said that her head, still facing the ground, slithered up to the window, bringing them face to face. She had green eyes that glowed in the darkness, with vertically elongated black pupils, set into a face covered in scales, with murky shades of green. And as her mouth opened wider and wider, Jane saw teeth that were tightly packed, sharp, and protruded more and more the wider she opened her mouth. Then, all of a sudden, time resumed, and they continued on their journey.
Gruesome Facts You Didn't Know, Part 225. In 1559, King Henry II of France was participating in a jousting tournament. During a match, he was severely wounded in the eye and brain by a splintered lance. He died of his injuries 10 days later, with his death leading to the decline of jousting as a sport in France. Actress and Playboy centerfold Yvette Vickers was last seen in 2010 after withdrawing from her family and friends. When neighbor Susan Savage noticed cobwebs on the mailbox, she went inside to investigate. Upstairs, she discovered her mummified body. Lieutenant Colonel William Henry Rankin is one of only 2 known persons to survive falling from the top of a cumulonimbus thunderstorm cloud. He was forced to eject from his jet when his engine failed. It took him 40 minutes to finally reach the ground. During his descent, he suffered from frostbite, and severe decompression caused his mouth, eyes, ears, and nose to bleed.
All for 40 minutes?
This is one of the strangest and most mysterious houses in the world. This is the Winchester Mansion. Found in San Jose, California, this house is over 138 years old. But its backstory leaves a lot of people really confused. So this lady's name is Sarah Pardee. In 1862, Sarah got married to William Winchester. William's family was really rich and famous. And the reason for that is because his family invented the Winchester rifle, which was really popular to use in war at the time. Unfortunately, just less than 20 years after Sarah and William got married, William passed away from tuberculosis, leaving Sarah with a lot of money. Immediately after William died, Sarah moved all the way across the country to San Jose, California, where she bought some land and began building a house. But the thing is, Sarah never stopped building the house. In fact, the home was under construction for over 38 years. But what's inside the house is the weird part. So the house or mansion itself is 24,000 square feet. The house has over 160 rooms, 2,000 doors, 47 fireplaces, 6 kitchens, and over 10,000 windows. Most people's houses look like they were planned out, but it seemed as if the Winchester Mansion got bigger and bigger as time went on. Now, the reason for the house being mysterious is because of how it's structured on the inside. There are doors that open up to brick walls and 12-foot drops to the outside. There are also several staircases that lead to nowhere, and multiple secret rooms. To this day, people are discovering more and more rooms every single year inside of the home. But the biggest mystery is why Sarah Winchester made her house so big and confusing. Many people believe that Sarah's house was actually haunted by the spirits of those killed by her husband's gun, as the Winchester rifle was really popular in war and claimed a lot of lives. This is backed by many witnesses who have reported seeing lights turn on by themselves, hearing strange mysterious voices and footsteps, and even seeing ghosts roam the halls. Many experts believe that Sarah Winchester was trying to build her house into one giant, complicated maze. In doing this, the ghost would get confused and wouldn't know where to find her. But the real reason for this house being so weird is unknown. Today, thousands of people go to tour the house on a yearly basis, but unfortunately we'll probably never know the real reason as to why the Winchester house is so mysterious.
That's a maze. I would not want to live there.
So I just got the most terrifying DM of my life today. Basically, someone sent me this screenshot. They say that while they were in the middle of watching my video on Annabelle, they randomly got a notification that said that liquid had been detected in their lightning connector. Now, what's so weird about this is they claimed that their phone had not been anywhere near water all day when they got this message. And the message happened right at the start of my Annabelle video, which, if you don't know, is where I showed actual footage of Annabelle leaving her case. And for a while, people have claimed that that footage is cursed. So the fact that this happened is very, very unsettling to say the least.
Horror movies that would be impossible to survive, part 4. A Quiet Place. Now for me, I just talk way too much, so having the fact that I have to be quiet or I'm gonna be unalived by some alien creatures that only react to sound, I'm cooked. Also, if this happens in the spring or the summertime, I have allergies. Bro, I'm sneezing everywhere. You don't want to be anywhere around me if The Quiet Place ever happened. You then have Cabin in the Woods 2012. You are set up from the beginning. You are not supposed to survive. And even the characters that did end up surviving at the end of this movie, they were not supposed to. They had every creature, every maniac, every slasher, every anything you can think of, all being ported to that cabin. And then as soon as they got to the mainframe, everything was let free. And if you know the ending of Cabin in the Woods 2012, you know it was absolutely insane. You then have The Descent. Now for me personally, I'm not going cave diving. On top of going into a cave that no one has ever explored yet. You then go into the cave with lighters and all this other stuff that you think is going to protect you. And you get inside of the cave and you get lost. People start losing their mind because the flashlights start losing battery. You then run into some weird humanoid-like creatures known as the Crawlers. That's like a vampire-ish creature. And let's be honest, you're done.
Yep. Especially The Quiet Place, man. If you ain't quiet, it's cooked, buddy. We ain't surviving. Hey, he's at the hotel or something. Hiding.
What is the scariest game you've ever played? I get this question almost every time I post a video or stream. And even though I've probably played well over 100 horror games, it's probably something like Dead Space, Outlast, or PT, right? It's actually something you might not have heard of. The scariest game I've ever played is a game called Lost in Vivo. But what makes this game so terrifying? Lost in Vivo takes inspiration from many different horror classics and puts them into one horrifying package. Every different type of scare you can imagine is in this game. It's also one of the only horror games I've ever played that gets scarier the longer you play. If you're not someone that gets scared easily, give this one a try.
Lost in Vivo. Should I try the Hellseekers?
Guys, what is going on with children? Because I just heard the story of these 4 girls in the 5th grade that came up with a plan to unalive another boy in their class, all because he cheated on one of the girls. First of all, who is even dating that seriously in the 5th grade? How do these kids even know what cheating is? We're talking about 10-year-olds. So this all happened in Arizona at Legacy Traditional School when a group of 4 girls, all aged 10 and 11 years old, were overheard by other students planning to stab another boy to death during recess. Apparently, each girl had a role in this plan. One was in charge of bringing the knife to school. Another girl was supposed to be the lookout. The 4th girl would be the one taking his life. Apparently they had gloves ready so that fingerprints wouldn't be left behind, and they set a date for this entire thing. When other students overheard this crazy plan, they told teachers and police were called. The most chilling part about all of this, well, there's two. Number one being that the girls knew they had to wear gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints behind. And the second part is that 3 out of the 4 girls showed remorse, but the 4th girl was laughing and smiling throughout the interrogation. They were arrested, but then were released to their parents, and then they were suspended from school. And let me tell you, this reminds me a lot of the Slenderman case in 2014 when 2 12-year-old girls lured their friend to a park and stabbed her 19 times.
The average person has about 6,000 thoughts per day, and according to psychologists, about 80% of them are negative. Hear me out. Expressing gratitude towards loved ones gives you an immediate increase in happiness. And if you don't believe me, go try it and then try to come back here and tell me I'm wrong. Social rejection can feel like physical pain, and I, for one, am a firm believer in the research that shows that acetaminophen, like Tylenol, can actually dull this pain as it would a headache. Married people are more likely to self-pleasure than people who live alone, okay? So just keep that one in mind. Humans have this automatic reaction to default to assume somebody is telling the truth, and we will automatically second-guess ourselves the moment somebody disagrees, which is why gaslighting can be so dangerous. Having backup plans can actually hinder your main goal. Having a plan B makes it much less likely for plan A to succeed, because in your head you're like, oh, well, I have plan B to fall back on. No, you gotta have plan A if you really want it to go. Sarcasm kind of gets a bad rap for being like rude or negative, but it can actually increase your creativity and encourage abstract thought, especially when you're using it with people that you trust. Nowadays, the average high schooler has about the same level of anxiety as a 1950s psychiatric patient, and honestly, I'm not sure what that means about today's society or about how they treated psychiatric patients.
Russ McKamey, the creator of the most intense haunted house in the entire world, was just arrested for attempted murder. Russ created the horror experience McKamey Manor, which is essentially torture. The actors are allowed to physically harm you, they can shave your eyebrows, make you eat stuff, hold you underwater, and all of this can go on for up to 10 hours. And now Russ has been charged with SA and attempted murder of 2 separate women. This did not take place at the house, though. This was in his personal life. But people have been worried about Russ's behavior for years. In a Hulu documentary about the house, multiple people sat down and said that they thought Russ may have bad intentions with the house. One woman claimed that she used the safe word multiple times, which is supposed to allow you to leave, but she was ignored. She eventually had to go to the hospital because of her injuries, and they were so bad that the hospital called the police. And all of this is allowed to happen because you have to sign a 20+ page waiver in order to even go into the house, and it lists hundreds of things that they can do to you. But people travel thousands of miles to get to the house, so they may feel a little bit of pressure to sign it because they went all that way to be there. Russ's bond was initially set at $1,000, but after the second woman came forward, it was set to $100,000. But Russ says everything said about him in the Hulu documentary was false, and now he's suing them for over $8 million.
He was decapitated and eaten on the bus. Timothy Richard McLean Jr. was born on October 3rd of 1985 in Winnipeg, Manitoba. He was described as outgoing, full of life, and adventurous. Tim worked as a carnival worker, and this was a job that matched his energetic personality and love of travel. On the evening of July 30th of 2008, 22-year-old Tim boarded a Greyhound bus that was headed to Winnipeg. He had just gotten off of work and was ready to head back home. The journey was long, so Tim chose a seat in the back of the bus. He spent most of his trip just listening to music in his headphones and texting his friends. The bus made a stop in Erickson, Manitoba, and a man by the name Vince Lee would board the bus. Vince was sitting in the front but eventually made his way back next to Tim after a rest stop. Tim ended up falling asleep and had his head resting on the window pane with his headphones over his ears. Without warning, Vince took out a large knife and started stabbing Tim repeatedly. The other passengers on the bus were thrown into chaos and panic once they realized what was happening. The bus driver ended up pulling to the side of the road, and he and those other passengers fled that bus. Once everyone was outside, Vince started to decapitate Tim's head, then showed his head through the window so that everyone could see, and then he started to eat his flesh. Once police arrived, the passengers of that bus were outside crying and throwing up while Vince was still inside of that bus consuming Tim. Vince refused to get off of the bus, which resulted in a police standoff for several hours. About 5 hours later, Vince tried to break through a window to escape, but that's when he was arrested. Parts of Tim's body were placed in plastic bags, and his ears, nose, and tongue were found in Vince's pockets. Tim's eyes and a part of his heart were never recovered, and they just assumed that Vince consumed them. Once Vince was arrested, it was revealed that he was a recent immigrant from China, and he was suffering from an untreated schizophrenia. Vince claimed that he did this to Tim because he was given divine instructions because he believed that he was an evil force threatening humanity. Vince was charged with second-degree murder but was not found responsible due to his mental illness. The NCR verdict meant that Vince would not be incarcerated but instead would be in a secure psychiatric facility. Many believed that the ruling was too lenient, while others argued that it highlighted the need for compassion and better mental health care. After all that, Vince ended up being released from the psychiatric facility and given a new identity.
There's a really famous mystery called the Dyatlov Pass. It's about these 9 really experienced hikers in the 50s. They set off on this journey and they reached the first checkpoint, but they didn't make it to the second checkpoint. And there was a big search that goes out to make sure they're okay. The army gets involved and they go and follow the route to find the hikers. And they come across these prints in the snow that led down the mountain. And some of the prints were bare feet, some had 1 shoe and 1 barefoot. And it's all 9 of the hikers, and they find 3 of the hikers, and they're all deceased, and there's one who's naked, there's one who's up in one of the trees, and there's these deep gouges on the tree as if some animal had been scratching at this tree. There's more footprints that lead away from those 3, and the footprints lead where the other 6 hikers were, and they're all deceased as well. And the women were wearing men's clothing and vice versa. Some of their clothes had trace levels of radiation, and some of them had parts of their face removed, it looked like. Lips, nose, ears, it almost looked like surgical precision removal. There was a person in there who their chest had basically been caved in, but there's no sign of anything that could have done this damage. And suddenly the Soviet government says, we're going to shut this investigation down. All we know is that the 9 hikers who died from an unknown, unnatural force. Sealed.
Which was? They found traces of radiation on top of that mountain, so what was going on there? No questions. Something peeking.
Maria was sentenced to prison after she lit her daughter's essayer on fire. So this is Maria and this is her daughter Veronica. And when her daughter was 13 years old, she was held at knife point by their neighbor and he essayed her to the tune of the R word, I can't say on TikTok. Now, it was reported and he ended up serving 9.5 years in prison. But after he got out, he started harassing the mom at the bus stop, saying things like, oh, how's your daughter? How's she doing? Really messed up stuff, and to the mom's point, showing zero remorse for what he did. Then he got off the bus, and he went into a local bar. That's when Maria got off the bus and went to a gas station. She bought a gallon of gas, and she had a lighter. And she walked up to him at the bar, poured gas on his head, and lit him on fire. Then she just walked out and started strolling down the street. The dude ends up with 90% of his body burned, and several days later, he dies at the hospital. When police find her, she admits to the whole thing, says that she just really wanted to hurt him, not unalive. She ends up getting 9.5 years, but she gets out in about half the time.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. One evening, Jim Woodford, a wealthy atheist man who had contracted a nerve disease, was surveying a property that he wanted to sell. He had become quite dependent on painkillers as a way to manage his pain. He was sitting in his truck watching the sunset when he decided to take more painkillers. He said that he waited for the relief to set in, but instead of relief, he felt like his feet were on fire. He said that he looked down to see if his truck was on fire, and then the feeling of fire spread rapidly throughout his whole body and seized his lungs. He said that he realized that he had overdosed. Jim said that all of a sudden he became hyper aware of all of his shortcomings in life. And although he hadn't prayed since he was a kid, he cried out the words, "God forgive me," before collapsing onto the steering wheel. Jim said that his spirit left his body and plunged into a realm of darkness, where the land looked scorched. As he walked, He came to what looked like a pit. The walls of the pit looked like black coal, he said. As he looked down, he saw the dim flicker of a red light. He then heard the sound of 2 large doors creaking open. He said that a large demonic creature that had a body made of fire and smoke began crawling out of the pit. He said that it was so hideous and evil looking that not even Hollywood could replicate it. And it was sniffing, as if it was searching for him. It finally locked eyes with him. Jim said that he could just feel its hatred for him and all of mankind. It started crawling faster towards Jim. He said that the creature got out of the pit and stood before him. It knew his name. It said, "Jim, we're here for you. This is your time with us." Jim was terrified and he cried out, "God help me." Just then, Jim said that the creature was struck with a beam of light and 3 angels appeared and saved him. He said that they took him to heaven and one of the angels reviewed Jim's life with him. Jim realized that he had not done enough in life and that he was very selfish and materialistic. Jim said that he also encountered Jesus and he told him that it was not yet his time. Jim said that he was sent back to his body and he woke up in the hospital. He had been clinically dead and on life support. When he spoke to the neurologist after, he said that Jim had no brain activity. After Jim recovered, he became a Christian and wrote a best-selling book called Heaven, An Unexpected Journey.
Wow. Changed his whole belief system. That one experience, man, can change everything to a person. Where we at?
That's 27-year-old Hannah Freeman after she was given a 7-day sentence. She's a total daddy's princess. Let me tell you what she did, but first, she's a 4th grade teacher from North Ridgeville, Ohio. So she and her boyfriend had broken up in April of 2024, and on November 26th of that year, she had gone to his apartment. They kind of had some words, and then he thought she left. But when he looked out, he saw her getting into his vehicle, and she stole 2 backpacks that each had a laptop in them, his medication, wallet, his car keys. So he called police to report what she did. He told police that she had been going to his place of work and following him home and basically stalking him. He later found out that she racked up over $1,000 on his credit card at Amazon. And then the very next day, November 7th, she had followed him to work, and I guess he looked out and saw her sitting in his vehicle, so he once again called the police. She denied being in his vehicle or stealing things out of his car the night before, and she even told police that she was invited to be there where he works and that they had had lunch together at Raising Cane's. But the ex said that is absolutely not true. So the police ended up looking at video surveillance footage that showed that she came to her ex's work 33 different times on 19 different days over a 30-day period. So she ended up getting arrested that day and received several felonies. The charges include menacing by stalking, 2 counts of burglary, 2 counts of aggravated theft, and identity fraud. She was indicted in December and took a plea deal in June of 2025, where she pleaded guilty to 3 misdemeanors: disorderly conduct, obstructing official business, and possessing criminal tools. And come to find out, this isn't the first time Hannah Freeman has had trouble with the law, despite her dad being the chief of police. But I'll do a different video for that, otherwise this one's going to end up being really long. So come back later for part 2. But anyway, at her sentencing hearing, the judge sentenced her to 18 months of probation or community control, with the first 7 days to be spent in jail. And her attorney lost it. He immediately tried to withdraw her plea and said that he and the prosecutor had agreed there would be no jail time. And the judge is like, okay, well, you guys didn't discuss that with me. I'm the one who gives the sentence. And they go back and forth for a couple minutes arguing about it until the judge finally just says, this is done. Now let me back up real quick. Right before the judge announced the sentence, he gave Hannah the opportunity to speak, and she was literally reading something off a piece of paper. Now, like I said, I'm going to make another video about her dad, who is the chief of police, and her mother, who has a history of getting arrested for shoplifting. And we'll also talk about what she did in December of 2022 when she got a noise violation and tried to get out of being arrested by telling everybody, my dad's the police chief, so I won't get in trouble. So make sure you come back for that. I'm going to end this by saying, I guess it doesn't matter who her dad is because she got in trouble. And 7 days in jail is a slap on the wrist for what she did. I've seen people get life sentences who don't respond like that.
Let's do what we do best, Seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Pictures that show the power of time. These teddies were bought at the same time 30 years ago, but one of them was given to a kid and the other was kept in a storage. And this is what happens when you don't clean a building for 50 plus years. I actually didn't know they were supposed to be white. Here's what penises looked like 80 years ago versus now. I wonder if they still accept the old ones. What do you guys think? And here's the size difference between 100 used bills versus new ones. Pretty neat.
Imagine accidentally knocking on the wrong door and then being murdered because of it. Well, that's what happened to 56-year-old Maria Cotto after visiting a client at an apartment building in Westchester. Maria was a caseworker for the county's Department of Social Services and was conducting home visits when she accidentally knocked on 31-year-old Hasim Jenkins' front door. When he answered the door, instead of directing Maria to the correct apartment, he punched her in the face. Maria tried running from him, but he chased her into a neighbor's apartment and he continued to kick her in the head with a pair of heavy boots. Somehow, while this was all going on, she managed to call 911, but when police arrived, Hasim claimed that Maria tried to stab him and that's why he beat her. But that never happened. She only knocked on his door because she thought that was her client's home. This poor lady suffered severe brain bleeding, brain swelling, and multiple facial fractures. She was placed on a ventilator, but unfortunately, she passed away a month later. When Hasim was arrested, Maria's phone was found in his pocket, and now he's facing a long list of charges, including second-degree murder. And something her family said, which is so sad, is that this all happened the year before Maria planned to retire.
Test your phobia. Thalassophobia.
Very deep water. Let's try it. I've never been scared of water like my whole life. I ain't doing that. Level 3, you got it. Can't really see anything. It's pitch black. Yeah, that ain't for me. Dude. I don't know how people get on boats like that, bro. Those raging waters.
Most secret places you are not allowed to visit. The Elephant's Foot, Chernobyl. A deadly mass of radioactive lava beneath Reactor 4. Just standing near it 4 minutes could mean certain death. Even now, decades after the Chernobyl disaster, it still emits dangerous levels of gamma radiations. It's expected to remain hazardous for thousands of years. Svalbard Global Seed Vault, Norway. This high-security vault was built to preserve humanity's food supply in case of global catastrophe. It's sealed tight, only opened during true crisis.
What crisis? What are they planning for, man? I guess my brain's spinning, bro. I want to be prepared.
From different countries. Japan. Kachasik Ono. Spain. Santa Conpano. Thailand. May Nak. United Kingdom. Bloody Mary. Nepal. Yeti.
Heard about that before.
Pakistan. Pichilpiri. America. Bell Witch. Mexico. La Llorona. India. Pishacha.
Okay guys, breaking news. It's actually happening. So every adult in the UK will now be required to have a new government-issued digital ID. Why, you may ask? Well, apparently immigration is the reason. So this announcement is supposed to be made official tomorrow by Keir Starmer, and anyone starting a new job in the UK will be soon required to present that digital ID. Now, this is all because it's said to be helping illegal immigration, because those digital IDs would then be automatically checked against a central database that will see if you are legally allowed to work in the UK or not. Now, it probably should be noted that this has been a talking point in the UK for many years, but no government before has done this, one, because of massive public hesitancy around digital IDs, but also because of the big questions of whether this would even help the problem it's intended to help in the first place. There's also a lot of other concerns about privacy, about civil liberties, about potential cyber attacks, having access to all of that data. And then also the big question is that if it doesn't have the intended effect that it does, so it doesn't drop that UK small boat crisis, then will it be abolished? Will it be taken away? And if not, then why? So let me know what you guys think. Are you a fan of digital IDs or not?
Have you heard about this supernatural phenomenon that sometimes happens to people in really bad car wrecks? Well, apparently multiple people who have been in horrible car accidents have reported seeing the same strange thing. It's called the third man syndrome, and it's when a supernatural presence offers comfort to a victim during a survival situation. I'm going to share one of the crazy stories with you now, but if you're interested in this, tonight's episode is going to be all of these stories. So a few years ago, a Reddit user was in a horrible car wreck. Like so bad they cut the car door off to get them out. They black out during the accident, but as they come to, they see a woman open their car door and get into the back seat. And the woman put her hand on the driver's shoulder and told him that it was going to be okay, and then she said that help was on the way. The user then blacked out again and came to with a fireman cutting off the door of the car. Afterwards, they're with it enough to talk to the police officers and the firemen on the scene, and they're telling them, like, hey, there was this woman that got in the car with me, is she okay? And everyone is like, there was no one in the car with you. Apparently no cars passing by had even stopped for the accident because the fire department was so close, so it was super unlikely that anyone had gotten in the car with them. But this is not the only time that that's happened. Other people have reported a woman getting into the car with them after an accident. There's so many other supernatural stories just like this that I explore in the episode tonight, so make sure you're following along.
Speaking of violence, I mean, for Des Freeman, is this going to end, in your opinion, in any way other than in a violent confrontation?
If people are assisting him, I'm sure there's also people saying, give up, just hand yourself in. But they're probably not willing to do that themselves, hand him in. He may decide to hand himself in himself, or he's just going to fight to the end and wait till he's discovered. With the current situation, I think it's going to end badly, the way it's going, or he's no longer with us. The best thing for him to do is surrender and come out and just face the music. Just have the whole thing end.
Badasses of History, Part 4. After having his leg amputated due to cancer, 21-year-old Terry Fox started running across Canada to raise money for cancer research. Every day he ran a full marathon for 143 straight days until his cancer forced him to stop. He ran a total of 3,338 miles, and his fundraiser has helped raise more than $600 million to date.
Legend.
In 1883, the body of Frank Devereaux and a bear were found dead beside each other, with the ground around them thrashed for 20 square feet. It's believed that the man and the bear fought to the death. American pilot Thomas Fitzpatrick once drunkenly stole an airplane from New Jersey and landed it in front of a bar in Manhattan to continue drinking. 2 years later, someone at the bar didn't believe his story, so he went and did it again. During World War II, American Private Edward Arns was found clutching a sword surrounded by 13 dead Japanese soldiers. Barely hanging on to life, his last words were, "I guess they didn't know I was a Marine."
3 Minecraft facts that you probably didn't know. Did you know that the Enderman's language is just English played backwards? And did you know that Minecraft was originally called the Cave Game? And lastly, a school in Sweden makes their kids play Minecraft every single day. Make sure you share this message and follow for more.
I've had to call a cop on that Sweden fact. The school makes them play Minecraft every single day. You know, the kids are a little low for that to happen to them, man.
Tasteophobia. Trypophobia.
Trypophobia?
Trypophobia.
Winstons are even able to do this.
Yo, what's up? Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 43. One of the reasons refrigerators are magnetic is because back during the early 1900s, children used to get stuck inside of these when they were playing hide and go seek, and they would actually suffocate and die. There's actually a condition known as arachnodactyly, and it makes your fingers and your toes appear abnormally long in comparison to your palm and to your foot. It can appear at birth or later on during life. So don't think you're safe just yet. There's a chance that you could experience internal bleeding, but you may not even know it's going on until it's too late. Oh yeah, I didn't know if you knew this or not, but actually when you die, they drain your body of all the blood. They put a tube through your jugular, it goes down a table, and then it empties out into like a sink or a toilet. Yeah, and then it's just replaced with formaldehyde.
I did not know that.
Top 3 most dangerous places in the world. At number 3, Lake Natron. This lake here in Tanzania, Africa is that dangerous, it's not even funny. The pH levels and temperatures are that high that if you went to swim in it would pretty much burn off your skin. It's the equivalent to a lake of acid, and some say if hell had a lake, this would be it. And you won't believe it, there is one animal that can survive here. Yeah, these orange gangsters, flamingos. At number 2, Snake Island. Just off the coast of Brazil, this island is infested with millions and millions of snakes. If you went here, you would see up to 5 new snakes every single step you take. Oh yeah, they're all venomous and extremely dangerous. And at number 1, this house here. If you don't already know, this is 10 Downing Street, the home of this lunatic Boris Johnson, who is planning on keeping the UK in lockdown until the year 2085.
People are saying their favorite celebrities are hanging out with a witch. As you can see, this woman is pretty friendly with a lot of celebrities. A$AP Rocky, Kim Kardashian, Kanye, even the Migos. But why are they so deeply connected with this woman? Her name is Michelle Levy, and it says she's a fashion designer, film producer, etc. But she's also married to Rick Owens, who is known as the Dark Lord of fashion. Look, here she is even wearing his head as a purse. Oh, and she's very close to Marina Abramovich, whose art is a little demonic. I mean, she once threw a party with a human-shaped cake. I kid you not. Look at this. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this just a connection for fashion, or is there something more darker going on? And make sure you guys hit that follow button, because my next video will blow your mind.
One of the most famous leading ladies of all time, Anne Hathaway, has lived before, and she is the reincarnation of one of the most famous leading ladies of the past. There's a massive conspiracy theory that Anne Hathaway's husband, Adam, is the reincarnation of the most famous playwright of all time, William Shakespeare. Because look at how much they look alike. It's very suspicious. And if anyone had the Illuminati power to reincarnate themselves, it's the most famous man of his time. And guess what Shakespeare's wife was named? Anne Hathaway. And this is what she looked like. Look familiar to another Anne Hathaway we know. And here they are all together. The theory goes that they wanted to reincarnate so they can come back and the wife could be famous in this lifetime, maybe so she can act, because women weren't allowed to act in the 1500s. And Anne is very known for her poised, proper, almost old-fashioned way of talking and behaving that rubs some people the wrong way, but maybe it's because she's from a different time. Before I show you the most eerie part of all this, make sure you follow so you finally know the craziest conspiracy theory about each of these celebrities and request you want to see next. Anne Hathaway was born on the exact day, to the date, of Shakespeare and Anne's 400th wedding anniversary. To the date.
I mean, the pictures when they put them side to side, at first I was kind of skeptical, but they were kind of looking alike. And the fact that she was born on a wedding anniversary, I mean, we all know it could just be one big coincidence, but the way it was lighted up, man. What do you think?
So today we're going to take a look at the world's most unexplained thing. I was born with 3 holes in my heart and mutated valves. The top comment is, "Hey brother, welcome back." When I was little, I had imaginary friends named Docho and Dimka. Decided to do my ancestry, they were actually my great-great-grandparents. I don't know about y'all, but if my child ever said they had imaginary friends, I don't play that game. My dad passed away unexpectedly when I was 22. We started seeing his face in random places, like in this photo of a curry plant. This was only a few days after he passed away in this exact room. Showed my dad this goofy picture my friend took of me. He then showed me this picture of my grandmother and his mother who passed away. I have never seen this picture of her before. Bro, I'm telling y'all, reincarnation's gotta be real. The top comment is, "No one cares, Tori, you ran through in an alcoholic. Your grandmother looks respectable though." Make sure to subscribe if you're new here.
That's crazy to say. The blue.
You can tell how clean someone is by their kitchen or their bathroom. You can tell how neat someone is by their living room.
You can tell someone's personality by their bedroom. You can tell how organized someone is by the inside of their car. You can tell how healthy someone is by their fridge and their pantry. You can tell someone's self-esteem by the way they show up. You can tell how busy someone is by how they listen. You can tell someone's dedication by their body. You can tell how stressed someone is by the attention that they give. You can tell how respected someone is by the way other people treat them. You can tell how respectful someone is by the way they treat other people. You can tell how healed someone is by their playlist. You can also tell how toxic someone is by their playlist. You can tell how real someone is by their responses. You can tell how comfortable someone is by their posture. You can tell someone's values by how they view other people. You can tell how dangerous someone is by their demeanor. You can tell how envied someone is by the way other people talk. You can also tell how hated someone is by the way other people talk. And you can tell how loved someone is by their family or friends.
The left side of the road is technically the right side to drive on. If you drive on the right, ironically, you've been doing it wrong. Because at first, the entire world rode on the left side, and for a very valid reason. Even way before cars were around, in the time of the Romans, with their horses and chariots, they always kept to the left. The reason being that most people's dominant hand was typically the right, as is still the case today, with only about 10% of the world being left-handed. This was to keep the arm they would hold their sword in free for potential combat and jousting with their neighboring traffic lane, which would have been their right hand attacking the left lane. And it was like this for hundreds of years, albeit with horses and carriages, not cars yet. But then someone came along and was all like, I don't like this. I want everyone to ride on the right from now on. And so he fully changed the rules of road travel because he was left-handed and preferred to ride on the right side so that his left sword hand could be free. That person was Napoleon Bonaparte, that French guy who took over Europe, so that he and anyone who was left-handed could have an advantage in combat during their travels. Some historians will tell you that he wasn't actually left-handed, that Napoleon was just keen on changing centuries-long traditions for the sake of creating a new society, the whole purpose behind his revolution. Either way, he is the one that brought right-hand driving into every place he conquered, which continued into our modern civilized world. Only the United Kingdom, being the French's eternal arch-nemesis, refused to adopt the right-side road travel, which is why even today, they and many other countries which were once British colonies or just influenced by British culture still drive on the left, and the rest of us drive on the right, because this guy here said so. Disclaimer, please follow the correct driving laws in your country. Don't drive wrong just because you think you're right.
Yo, what's up? Here's some facts that you probably didn't know about the world's most notorious serial killers. During his killing spree, Jeffrey Dahmer had so many dead bodies in his apartment that he ended up having to store one in his bathtub. But not only that, he continued to shower over this corpse that was in his bathtub for about a month or so. Just want you to think about that for a second. After being placed behind bars, David Berkowitz, otherwise known as the Son of Sam, claimed that he was saved by Jesus and basically counseled and preached while he was in prison. Now, I don't know how you go from killing around 6 people to becoming a preacher, but hey, what do I know? Richard Chase, otherwise known as the Vampire of Sacramento, basically took unlocked doors as an invitation to come in and kill. And if your doors were locked, well, he would just walk off and try another house. Please keep your doors locked. Serial killer Durango Vargas confessed to killing and eating over 10 people, but he claimed that he wouldn't eat fat people because they were too high in cholesterol.
What? He's sick in the head. All of them were.
She lost her life because she mispronounced a word. Lydia Charity Schatz was born on March 15th of 2002 and was originally from Liberia. Kevin and Elizabeth Schatz lived in Paradise, California with their 6 biological children. The couple decided they wanted to add more to their family, so they headed to Liberia to adopt 3 children, including Lydia. But Lydia and her 2 siblings thought were going to be a loving home was the complete opposite. On February 5th of 2010, Lydia was harmed so badly with a 1/4-inch plastic tube just because she mispronounced a word. Kevin and Elizabeth held Lydia down for 9 hours and harmed her so badly on her back that it caused severe tissue damage. That following day, Lydia passed away in the hospital. Lydia's 11-year-old sister Zariah was also harmed by Kevin and Elizabeth because allegedly she was a bad influence and a liar. She was hospitalized in critical condition but fortunately survived. When Kevin and Elizabeth were being investigated, they stated that they used a child discipline teachings by a fundamentalist Christian organization. Investigators discovered that Elizabeth and Kevin were doing this to their biological children as well, and were even teaching their oldest daughter to join in on doing this to her siblings. In court, Kevin was found guilty and sentenced to a minimum of 22 years and Elizabeth was also found guilty and sentenced to 13 years in prison.
The ancient Romans had a bone to pick. This solid silver ancient Roman amulet was sold at an auction, and try to take a guess as to what it was used for. It's only 3 centimeters tall, depicting a grotesque head with exaggerated features dating back to around the 1st to 2nd century AD, part of a private collection called the Esteemed European Collection. And it has this long, prominent nose, high cheeks, and a massive forehead, but what does it all mean? Well, grotesque features were traditionally used in amulets during the time of the Romans as a way to ward off evil, to keep the bearer protected and serve as symbolic reminders of the separation between our earthly realm and the divine. And I guess, lucky buyer scored this one right here for £3,200, about $4,300, so I hope it was worth it.
So I've gotten asked like 3 times this week if I think that Paul Walker actually faked his death and he's still alive out there. Now, up until this week, I had never heard this theory, and I was like, I don't know. So then I looked into it, and here's what I found out. Now, we all know that Paul Walker was like a big car guy, like a big car enthusiast. That's probably how he got involved with the Fast and the Furious franchise to begin with. But that love of cars was actually his real life personality. He loved really cool cars. So some people thought it was a little bit coincidental or ironic or strange that he actually died in a cool car. One of the things that's a little bit weird about this is he was with his friend Roger, and Roger was a professional driver, racer type of person. So Roger would have been super experienced when it comes to driving really fast cars, and it seems a little bit strange and unlikely that, he would end up, dying when he had all this experience driving these really crazy cars. With that being said, though, I feel we've heard of instances of, even NASCAR drivers dying in crashes and stuff like that. So that part in and of itself isn't all that strange. But here's where things do get a little bit weird. This is the car that, both of these guys actually ended up passing away in. Let's take note of the license plate. It's 7CCY590. But the license plate that was at the crash site is 3URS93. So why are the license plates different? Did they get swapped out at some point? Because everybody saw him leave with the car with the original license plate, and then all of a sudden this one was at the site. So did the cars get switched? What's going on? This part's a little bit strange. And the other thing that's kind of weird is the story I found out actually leaked before he actually died. So he wasn't even dead yet, and there were all these news outlets already posting about how Paul Walker died in a car accident. So it's almost as if these news outlets already had this information and accidentally released it a little bit early. I had never heard that part before, but that part really got me because that's happened with other celebrity death kind of situations too, where the news accidentally leaks before it actually happens, and so it's what's going on here? So now I'm starting to understand why people are speculating about this, because it seems there's just a lot of things that don't add up that are just a little bit too strange. Any of these things by themselves, other than the news leaking too early, would have been okay, I mean, it could happen, but I feel everything put together, it does make for kind of a suspicious situation. But here's the part I really don't understand. A lot of the other celebrity deaths that people speculate might have been faked, there's a very good reason why they might do such a thing. With Paul Walker, I'm having a really hard time finding a motive of what would make him, want or need to fake his own death. He was a pretty big celebrity, but I don't feel he was at mega star status to where he couldn't even live or do anything. I don't know, and I also don't think he was in any trouble that I know of. So if you know of a reason why Paul Walker might have wanted to fake his own death, put it in the comments. Or is there a chance that maybe the death wasn't faked, but maybe it was planned? If so, why?
Who were caught cheating, part 2. In 1994, on the day before the U.S. Figure Skating Championships, title holder Nancy Kerrigan was filmed finishing a practice skate, but just seconds later she was screaming in pain on the ground after a man with a police baton attacked her. The attack severely bruised her knee, which made her unable to compete. Her longtime rival Tanya Harding went on to take first place and was selected alongside her for that year's Winter Olympic skating team. However, police soon discovered that the attack on Kerrigan had been ordered by a bounty hunter. In a shocking twist of events, Tanya Harding's ex-husband Jeff Gillooly and her once bodyguard Sean Eckhart were labeled as the culprits. They'd hired the bounty hunter to break Kerrigan's leg, removing Harding's competition in the upcoming events. Although she claimed she had no part in the conspiracy, Harding later admitted that she knew her ex-husband had been involved, but she failed to report it. But karma had the last laugh. At the games, a malfunction with her skates saw Tanya placed down in 8th, while Kerrigan managed a silver in 2nd.
That goes to show you, bro. That's proof of karma right there, man. She knew what was gonna happen, man. To take out the competition, she ain't saying nothing about it, and she still got 8th place. She didn't even get top 1 or 2, man, for the gold or silver medal. That's karma, seekers, right there, in 4K.
Here are some things that 99% of humans can't do. Are you part of the 1%? The ability to raise eyebrows is an evolutionary trait that all of us can do. While pretty much everybody can raise their eyebrows, only 1% of the world can raise one eyebrow at once. Did you know that 99% of the world can't lick their elbow? So you probably can't do this, and I bet you're probably doing it right now. However, for some people, this task is actually really easy, which is due to being born with really flexible bodies or practicing a lot of gymnastics. Only 2% of people can wiggle their ears. Unlike other face muscles, ear muscles are operated by a completely different part of your brain. If you try to use your face muscles to move your ears, it's never gonna work. So you're gonna have to raise your eyebrows and smile widely to lift your ears. And if you're lucky, you might be one of the few people that can move them.
I can't. Seekers, can you guys do any of those things? I think I can do the elbow joint. I think actually I can. But I can't do the air joint. That's completely different. Or that one eyebrow, what the Rock be doing. I cannot do that. Tell me down below if you can do that, man. I'm actually curious if any of you guys can do that.
This man was frozen in ice for 3 days, and you won't believe what happened to him. His name is David Blaine, and he went inside a block of ice for 3 days with no food and only one tube supplying him with air and water. At the 61-hour mark, he was beginning to lose consciousness, but he couldn't go to sleep because if he leaned on the ice, he would have gotten severe frostbite. Unfortunately, this led him to have extreme hallucinations. Near the end of the stunt, he called his girlfriend over, but she was immediately pulled away. This made him think that he was dead and that she couldn't see him. After 63 hours, they decided to cut him out, but they said he was so delusional, he tried to grab the chainsaw. He finally made it out, but he was so physically and emotionally tired that he couldn't walk or talk. David was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, and after 1 month of therapy, he finally made a full recovery.
If you're watching horror movies and feel like something's watching you, this could be why. A family from Ecuador enjoyed watching horror movies together in their living room. But one night, during their late horror night session, they began to feel a strange presence with them in the living room. Scared, thinking they might have attracted an evil entity into their home, they placed a camera in their living room, and this is what they captured.
Ahí yo fue que ya comencé a sentirme mal. ¿Por qué? Porque mira, a ver, eso yo sí lo vi claramente, así, de reojo. Mira, ¿sí viste? Eso sí.
One of the family members is startled as a dark figure can be seen moving behind him. After this, objects began to fly across the room.
La puerta ahí como la tenía trancada. Mira, sí, oye, ¿sí ves? Sí, ¿qué pasa?
And they just get out of there. The family will later call in a priest to bless the house, but the hauntings persist.
This is the stuff of nightmares that's like straight out of the earth.
Is that legit, Seekers?
It has a lot to do with the dark web. Sometime around 2004, when people were just starting to explore what would later be known as the dark web, they would talk about a woman that would show up on your screen, except it wasn't a woman. It was a distorted mask of a woman's face. And what this person would do is that they would recite your full name and your address, and then say, "I'm coming for you." And then the whole screen would go dark.
This is what they mean when they say only 5% of the ocean has been explored. What kind of fish is this?
Did that fish just eat her out? I mean, like I said, it's true. We only explore like 5% of the ocean, so there could be some species down there that we haven't even seen before. Have you seen that fish before, man? I sure haven't.
More you know. That's scary.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 16. Kangaroos are absolutely terrifying, and if you mess with one, it will likely lure you into the water and attempt to drown you. There's an abandoned Disney park that you aren't allowed to go to, and it was shut down in 1999 because it was infested with free-roaming alligators. The animals were being abused, and an 11-year-old boy died from a flesh-eating bacteria found in the park's waters. In the movie The Wizard of Oz, the lion's costume was made out of a real skinned lion. This is the John Lawson house. No one knows who lives there, but every single day, there are several female mannequins sitting on the front porch wearing a variety of clothing. Their positions and outfits change daily, and many believe this is meant to convey some sort of message. And in 1871, a train crash took place just 200 feet away from the home, killing 22 people. And these mannequins are always pointing toward the crash.
Why? Is that a hyena or something?
Yeah, the hyena's a girl. So many may know, female hyenas have a fake meat hose that looks almost identical to the real thing. And for those that don't, actually, that's the lead. They have a pseudo-phallus that they give birth from, and yes, it's as traumatizing as you think, and yes, the very process of birth can end up doing the exact opposite for everyone involved. But low-key, having a built-in flesh scrap might explain why hyenas are exactly the way they are. So for most animals, life pretty much comes down to the 3 F's: food, fights, and... So a lot of times when male animals run a fade, it's for the goal of female validation. But hyenas having a female 5th leg means they have a natural crotch block. It's basically anti-mating hardware that means the no-pants dance can only happen if she allows it. So unlike things like lions or bears, there's really no reason for male hyenas to want smoke with each other when getting it in is already RNG. Pun intended. And it's believed having coitus completely out of their control is why male hyenas are way less aggressive and even have less testosterone than the females. Meanwhile, the females are more on-go than a green light. And why hyena sisters are way more likely to put each other on a t-shirt. And with them being pack animals with a whole social ladder, the Walking Comedy Club had to become more aggressive just to give their cubs a chance at life. Matter of fact, that's probably why they have more testosterone. So yeah, moral of this video. Lion King did hyenas every type of dirty, but they got it right when they had Shenzi giving orders. And now you know why.
This is why you should be scared of that one person you're talking to online that you're about to meet in real life. Blanca Arellano, a 51-year-old Mexican woman, was looking for love. She met a Peruvian man named Juan Villafuerte on an online gaming app. And on the last day of October, she traveled 3,000 miles to Lima, Peru to meet him. She thought that he could be the one. On November 7th, while in the beach city of Huacho, where Villafuerte lived, Blanca spoke to her niece on the phone and told her that the relationship was going well and that she was in love. Then, she went silent. Her niece suspected something was wrong after not being able to get into contact with her. She called for help on Twitter and reached out to Juan Villafuerte, who said that Blanca got bored of him and left to find a plane ticket back to Mexico, as he could not provide the life she wanted. But the truth was much, much darker. On November 10th, Peruvian authorities found a severed finger on the beach of Huacho. Then in the following days, they found a faceless head and then an arm, and then a torso with no organs inside of it. They eventually identified Blanca Arellano via her family by the ring on her finger. Juan Villafuerte was arrested on charges of human organs trafficking. Authorities found traces of blood all over his apartment, and he reportedly posted TikTok videos of human organs days after Blanca's disappearance. Creepy last words people said right before dying. A nursing assistant said that she was in a long-term patient's room changing the sheets. The patient would periodically look behind her. She asked the patient what was wrong, and the patient looked in her eyes and asked, "He doesn't scare you?" The nurse was confused, and she asked her who she was referring to, and the patient said, "The big man in the top hat. He's standing right behind you." She said that she doesn't think that she has ever finished changing a bed sheet and repositioning a patient as fast as she did that night. She refused to go into that room by herself for the rest of her shift. Linda Johnson, a former nurse, said that she had a gentleman in his late 90s who was dying. He started screaming blood-curdling screams, so they raced to his room. He was screaming that the room was on fire and that there was a man with large horns peering out of the flames. He kept pointing to one wall, saying that it was on fire. The nurses turned on the lights and tried to calm and console him, but to no avail. Instead of being consoled, Linda said that he told her that she was on fire and that he could see her being consumed by flames. Linda said that it was the creepiest thing that has ever happened to her. The doctor was notified, but nothing relieved the patient's terrifying hallucinations. He died soon after. Cynthia said that several years ago, her her 20-year-old daughter had brain surgery. She got an infection of the spinal fluid. She was there in grave condition for a month. Cynthia never left her daughter's side. One night, the worst night at this point, she asked who the man in black was that was standing by the bathroom, and why Cynthia's deceased brother, the girl's uncle, was standing next to her at the side of the bed. Cynthia immediately got the chills. She told her daughter, "They're not here." Then she told her brother and the man in the black, whom she couldn't see, "You both have to go now. She's not ready to go, and I'm not ready to let her go." After that night, her daughter started to get better and better each day. Today, her daughter is doing well.
September 25th, 1981, something very strange took place up in the Smoky Mountains. This is a picture of Pauline Melton, and it would end up being one of the last known photos of her. Because while Pauline was up there, she was with two hiking companions. They described that she, all of a sudden, without explanation, just started to rapidly speed up. They even described that they called out to her. They were asking, "Pauline, where are you going? Pauline." She never answered. She never looked back until she crossed over a hill. Since that exact moment, Pauline was never seen again. And to this day, they still have no idea where she went and why she did it.
The first person to live forever is already alive. At least according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, who explains it with irrefutable logic. It starts with someone that was born in like the past year or so. Our test subject, call him Johnny Boy. The reason Johnny, or any of us, age is because our cells are constantly dividing, making fresh copies of our DNA in each new cell. Our DNA is packed into chromosomes, and since DNA duplication isn't perfect, the tips of these chromosomes are slightly trimmed on every replication. Sort of like making a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. The quality slightly degrades each time. To protect against this, our chromosomes have something called telomeres on their tips, which essentially contain junk DNA data that we can afford to lose. But even these telomeres are finite. They get shorter and shorter on every duplication until at some point they're fully gone. Then the cell stops dividing, gradually loses its function and withers away. The more this happens in our cells, the more we age, and our bodies experience age-related characteristics. Scientists like David Sinclair are currently getting really close to reversing this process in human cells. He's developed what he refers to a chemical cocktail that can reprogram the way our cells are read to sort of fill in the blanks from these imperfections in our DNA replication. The science behind it is quite extensive, and he ran tests on lab mice that were incredibly successful. Having mice born at the same time with one looking visibly older than the other says that human trials are planned to start within the decade, and it's just a matter of time before we start seeing success in that. So where does this live forever come from? Obviously, the first version of this cocktail won't be perfect. It may extend human life to, let's say, 150 years. Now remember our test subject, Johnny Boy? In 20 years, he'll be 20, at which time we're almost guaranteed to be undergoing human trials at the very least, if not already publicly available. This life potion is given to Johnny so that he can live until 150. The claim states that by the time Johnny is 40, we're almost guaranteed to make enough advancement to double the anti-aging cocktail so that now he can live till 300. 20 years later, when he's 60, the potion will be approved so that he can live till 500 years old. By the time he's 80, he can live till 1,000. These numbers are all arbitrary, but the general principle still holds up. Even if we start seeing diminishing returns in the improvements of this concoction, Johnny has already hacked his way into living forever. He can already live till 1,000 at this point, so even if it takes 100 more years to improving the medicine to living till, say, 2,000 years old, he'll live until then and take it, constantly outliving the improvement curve of anti-aging until they've cracked the code to the million-year potion, at which point Johnny Boy is essentially immortal, which means one of two things absolutely must happen in our future. One, we colonize other planets, or two, we stop having babies. If people are living forever and no longer dying, our population will continue to grow and just grow and grow. At which point we either need more space to put people, like other planets, or we gotta stop making people. So unless we want to sterilize the entire human race, living forever probably isn't a good idea until we figure this multi-planetary business out.
Things that show...
What do you guys think about that theory, Seekers? The age guy, but it just kept going and going and going, man. They're working on stuff, man, to make us not age no more. We live forever, trying to make us immortal. What do you guys think about that?
Show off the power of time. Part 7. Disney World has had about 58 million visitors per year since it opened in 1971. And during those visits, guests would often have to wait in lines that were organized by rope walkways. And if you look closely at the rope clips, you can see that they've started to wear down. Some have even created a new groove. And no, I'm not talking about Cusco. Next, watching waves at the shoreline might seem like a calming activity, but not if you're a resident of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Over time, the waves wore the shoreline and even took a huge chunk out of it. Now, this would usually take several years for the effects to be seen. But in the case of Green Bay, this all happened within the span of an hour.
Wow, what the hell? The power of water.
And lastly, we're told that tattoos are permanent, but this may not be the case. Because this guy got a tattoo of a flower on the palm of his hand. And in just 2.5 months, the tattoo mostly vanished. This is mainly because our palms experience a lot of friction from how often we rub our hands. So if you want a tattoo, you might want to avoid your palm.
Bro,
I think I said that.
Most wholesome animal on earth. Brother, if you wanted a manatee video, you could have just asked. Did you know when alligators and manatees cross paths underwater, the alligators seem to let them pass a prehistoric sledgehammer and they give manatees the right of way? That's how you know you got motion in the ocean. There's never been a record of a manatee attacking a human, and it might be because it's literally physically impossible. One is because their teeth are way in their mouths, and their mold is designed for grinding grass, not biting. You know, if you ever get bit by a manatee, that means you were in his throat, and if you were, that means this law was for you. Some things don't need exploring Columbus. Also, some scientists think that because adult manatees have no predators, and because they don't have to fight each other over who eats what grass, there's a lot of talk that the sea squishy is mentally incapable of feeling aggression. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I will say 3 things. 1, they don't just eat grass, they'll go pescatarian if the opportunity presents itself. 2, as fast as you think manatees are, they're faster. It might not be with malicious intent, but 1,200 pounds of anything moving like that is definitely cause to pause. And 3, last year a popular manatee named Q, past tense, after essentially explicit interaction with a bigger male named Buffett, tore him open like a reverse butt birth. The catch: Buffett was his brother. Yeah, that's pretty bad, but did you know manatees are also closely related to my favorite animal? They even got the same nail tech. So yeah, I'm a little biased, so I'm gonna let it slide. Especially since I'm pretty sure it wasn't aggression, but just a dangerous lack of awareness. But yeah, God bless this water blimp, and R.I.P. Hugh.
R.I.P. Hugh, bro. I don't know manatees were related to like elephants. I saw that. We learn new things every day, Seekers,
Don't
man.
freak out, but we are right now entering the beginning of the end of the universe. 95% of all the stars that will ever form have already formed. And it gets even crazier than that. There is a sphere around us called the Hubble sphere. Beyond this point, everything is moving away from us faster than the speed of light due to the expansion of space itself. And how many of the galaxies do you think are outside of this sphere? 94% of all the galaxies we can see are beyond this boundary today. Meaning, no matter how hard we try, if there are aliens living in these galaxies, we will never be able to meet them. 60,000 stars pass beyond this horizon every single second. That's nearly 2 million solar systems we can no longer visit since the start of this video. This will continue until we are all alone. The universe as we know it, with all the beautiful galaxies and nebulae, will slowly fade away into darkness, and the astronomers of the future will point their telescopes everywhere, finding the same thing: darkness and silence for the rest of eternity.
Here are horrible things done by very influential people. Everyone knows Steve Jobs for founding Apple, but what most people don't know is the dark side of his personal life. He had an on and off relationship with a woman named Kristen Brennan, and this led to a messy pregnancy and a years-long paternity battle. Steve Jobs refused to help Brennan and their child financially, and she had to go on welfare. Now, eventually, he did help his daughter, but only because Brennan came forward about his behavior in an interview with Time magazine in 1982, before becoming a popular kids book author. Theodore Seuss Geisel, aka Dr. Seuss, served in the animation department of the United States Army during World War II. He wrote training and propaganda films, and designed posters to get people signed up to join the army. But a lot of his work at the time made the Japanese look really horrible, and this carried on into his earlier books. And Mother Teresa helped provide healthcare to the sick and the poor, but her actions behind the scenes were questionable, to say the least. It's been reported that her care involved these people allegedly going through a forced conversion to Catholicism, which involved children being baptized without their parents' consent. She also allegedly hid the actions of priests who were behaving inappropriately around children, and used charity funds for her own medical care. Yeah, this is not what Jesus would do.
This teacher was caught doing it with an 8th grade student, and apparently it was almost daily. The kid was 13 years old, and now she will serve 10 years in prison. This happened in Texas. The teacher behind me, her name is Alexandria Vera. She's 25 years old, and this 13-year-old got her pregnant. She stated the relationship happened in the Instagram DMs, and his family apparently approved of this relationship. The judge and the school district said that they want their teachers to teach students, not put their hands all over their students. She was originally going to get 30 years in prison, but the judge said, I don't think she's that bad, and gave her 10 years. Apparently this relationship blossomed in 2015 around summertime. The boy kept advancing, she kept denying, but eventually she gave in apparently. Prosecutors said, based on evidence, they did it daily for 9 months straight. And apparently during the entire ordeal, to get away with this, she told her neighbors that the boy was her brother. And now it gets even weirder. She even moved his father in with her so she could pretend she was dating the father when in reality she was the kid. This was kind of a mask. She was also paying for the family's groceries and phone bill. This kid literally had a sugar mama. Now Alexandria Vera has a 6-year-old daughter that even called the 13-year-old kid her dad. What an interesting case. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you're from Houston, Texas, did you hear about this case around you guys? As always, these videos are for informational purposes only. Once again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I definitely feel like she should have served life for this. She knew exactly what she was doing, but the court system was pretty lenient on her.
It's a tragic case, man. Truly tragic. You guys, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys, man, follow me on my social medias, man. Links in the description down below, guys. Also, man, hit that post notification bell. Also, man, hit that like button, man. That's very important, man. It's gonna push us in the algorithm. We're gonna take off one day, man. But we just going step by step by now, and I really appreciate the support I have for right now. You guys gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.